Good morning, happy Wednesday. Welcome back to another episode of AKP Sports Talk. That is Ari. I'm Korea. It is Wednesday, obviously January 3rd, 2024. Ari, how you doing first of all on this Wednesday morning?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Good games yesterday. Another big, college basketball slate today. A better NBA slate. So yeah, looking forward to more winners today.
Yeah, obviously, I feel like now that we're getting in, conference play, we're finally starting to get our foot under ourselves, for this college basketball slate. And obviously, you mentioned a better NBA slate tonight, but we're gonna do a quick recap of how we did yesterday. First with myself, and I'll take a 2-2 day. First, Maryland. I mean, your offense didn't show up. I mean, you just couldn't shoot from the field. Looked like Purdue was just the better team offensively. I mean, even though Maryland was doing their best to handle them, I mean, they just couldn't. They just didn't do their end. They didn't, provide any offense. I mean, like I said, they held combined had 11 and 9. I said, you know, Maryland stats they were shooting like 3%. Sorry, had a little technical difficulty here, but I was explaining, Maryland just didn't show up. I mean, when you depend on an offense to show up at home against the number one team in the country, it's hard. I mean, I got to credit Purdue. Obviously, has one of the better defenses now in the Big Ten, but I just thought this was a bad spot for them. But got to credit Purdue there. And then going to my next pick, Wisconsin -5.5. That was so free. Obviously, was Iowa's defense is Swiss cheese. They don't know how to play defense. And then I mentioned Iowa, one of the worst teams on the road. They couldn't shoot the ball. It's just very hard for this team, to win games on the road, especially in the Big Ten when you can't shoot the ball offensively, but defensively you can't guard. And it was definitely Wisconsin -5.5. It was a little bit sweaty. Iowa was playing a little more competitive in that first half, but the second half came away, and Wisconsin started to get more of their offense churning and going. So I loved. It's nice to see pretty much everyone get involved for that Wisconsin Badger offense yesterday. So -5.5 was pretty sweat free. Near the end they won by 12, so that was nice to see. And then Wake Forest straight up on the money line -125 yesterday. They got the win, and I love to see that. I thought that those Wake Forest team is the better team, and they are the better team. They're 10-3. I knew that they were going to play a little bit better defensively. It was a pretty good game, I will say. Throughout that first and second half, it was pretty similar to that game. Like I think I was mentioning to you or someone else, kind of that it was like that, similar to that NC State game. It was very close. BC was playing closer in the first half, but Wake Forest just went away with it in the second half. The Gonzaga transfer, Hunter Salas, he kind of leads this team. 21 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. He is the X factor for this team. So I love seeing Wake Forest. That was one of the sweat free ones, especially in that second half when they just ran away with it. And then Pitt, oh my gosh, that was an absolute travesty. That pissed me off so much because Pitt was in this game for so long, but these guys could not hit a three-pointer. I mean, my God, they went 17% from three. You're not going to win a game if you're shooting. You're not even going to be close in a game if you're shooting 17% from three. Pitt did not cover. They lost by 13. If any one of those, if any three of those threes go in or whatever, we cover. So it was just a tough look if you can't shoot. So, I'll take a 2-2 day, but I'm not too mad myself. Maryland and Pitt, their offenses didn't show up, so you can't put too much blame on that. I'm not really going to call it a bad beat as well because it was a good look, but the offenses just didn't show up. So I'll take a 2-2 day. Ari, you had your one. How did the Warriors do? I think they got the. Oh yes, they did.
Yeah, we got a vintage Steph performance, 36 points, better shooting, better efficiency. I believe Kuminga added the 19 points. They had 7 players in double figures. So, Steph had his 36, but they also had other guys chipping enough. It was close. It was close in the fourth quarter. But the Warriors, it was close pretty much at the whole game. Besides the first 2 minutes, Magic went up 11-2 in 2 minutes into the game. And the Warriors, rebounded quickly, and it was pretty close throughout the whole game. But they were able to pull away in the end and cover. And, maybe this will be the start of them turning it around in the new year.
I mean, as a fan, obviously, I hope so. Obviously, it's nice to see a vintage Curry, my GOAT performance. And then obviously, I love the addition of, you mentioned Kuminga and then Pajemski, being one of the key role players for this Warriors team. It was, Klay Thompson, he didn't shoot great from behind the arc, but he did just enough from the field. Obviously, 15 points. And Chris Paul in double figures, Wiggins and TJD, Trace Jackson Davis, very, contributed. It was obviously tough to see Gary Payton once again go down with an injury. But at the same time, this Warriors team, definitely did get the job done at home, obviously winning by 6. That's definitely nice to see. I'll gladly take that as well. But now we're going to get into today. Obviously, we have a loaded card, as I already said, for college basketball and the NBA. Here are my 3. First, we're going to go to the Big East. And we're going to go take Providence. We're taking them -5.5. That's -125. I know that line is going to 6.5. I got it at 5.5. I'd buy it up to 6 maybe for that push potential, but I like it at 5.5 at -125. Look, this Providence team is going to be one of the biggest wagons at home in this year. They're one of the better teams at home. Even though their offense isn't as great, at home, their offense is superb. They obviously beat Marquette in that big game we talked about just a few days ago. Their offense was there, and their defense did just enough to hold Marquette to pretty much, really bad shooting from the field. They're 11th in blocks per game, at almost 6. They have really good interior defense. They don't rebound as much, but they don't really need to. I would say the one caveat is just their offense. They don't really shoot that much, but we look at Seton Hall, and Seton Hall's offense is anemic, and they're especially their offense is really bad on the road. This team lost by 20 to Xavier not even a few days ago, so this is a really bad spot, and Providence really starting to get themselves going, especially off of a big win at home. So I'm taking Providence on the points, -5.5. This is one of my favorite home wagons are going to be of the year. Providence, they're just one of the better teams at home. They fill up that arena really fast. So I like Providence at -5.5 today. And then I'm going to an ACC battle, and it was so hard for me to say I want to bet against Clemson because Clemson is one of the best defensive teams in the country, but this is a really bad spot for them, and I have to go with Miami. So I'm taking Miami just straight up on the money line. That spread is way too close. It was at 1.5. That line has moved down to pretty much a 1-point spread. I'm taking it down. I'm just taking Miami straight up on the money line here. I think Miami gets the job done at +100. You get it at even money, so you're doubling your money there. I think Miami wins this game at home. I love the Hurricanes. We've talked about the Hurricanes many times and how prolific their offense is. That's what they lean on. If this was at Clemson, I would 100% be betting Clemson. But the fact that this is at home, we talk about this falls right into the system, Ari. We talk about a ranked opponent going to an unranked opponent where the spread is less than 5. You take the home team. I would take the home team on the points, but the spread is so low. I'm just going to take them to win. I love Miami in this spot here. I mean, obviously, offense plays a lot better in front of your home crowd. This team loves to get rebounds. I believe, especially on the offensive glass, they're led by Noor Chadomir, the prolific forward, along with Cleveland and what is his name? Wuga? I don't know how to Wuga Poplar. I just love this guy's name, but he averaged 16-5 for this team. So you look at this Miami team, and they have so many scores, and it's just going to be hard for Clemson, to really catch up with them. They really have to have, I would say, one of their best offensive performances of the night. And they can. I mean, they definitely have got it done on the road. They beat they beat a pretty good Alabama team on the road. So it's not like they can't get it done. But I just think, in a game where, Miami's offense needs to show up, I think Miami offense will get it done. And I like Miami just straight up on the money line tonight. I think they get it. I think they get the job done at home, especially with that home court advantage. That plays a big role, especially as we talk about in in college basketball, home court, a ranked opponent coming to an unranked home opponent. It's a system play. But the spread is so low. I'm just going to take Miami just straight up to win this game, and you're getting them at plus money. So I'm taking the Miami Hurricanes on the money line at +100, and then going to another ACC battle. Pack on the road -4.5. I'm just fading Notre Dame. Notre Dame is really bad. This team is not good. They have no offense whatsoever, and their defense pretty much is almost last in pretty much most categories. And you look at NC State, They don't turn over the ball. Their offense is doing just enough, but the fact that they are 10th in turnovers per game, meaning that they do not turn over the ball, you look at their defense, and their defense does just enough. They steal the ball a lot, and so I'm taking the better team that is defensively traveling. And Notre Dame, one of the worst teams in basketball. I mean, this team barely beat Marist at home, for God's sake. So I'm just going to take Notre Dame, especially after that fluke when they had against Virginia. But the only reason they beat Virginia is because Virginia has the worst offense in all of college basketball. I'm sorry, I have to rant about Virginia for a second. Virginia basketball has one of the worst offenses I have ever seen. They only average 66 points per game. That is 324th in basketball. There is no way that Notre Dame should have won that game, but they did by 22 because Virginia cannot shoot the basketball. And now NC State's going to come in who can shoot the basketball a lot better considerably, and they play a lot better defense and they don't turn over the ball. I'm taking NC State in the points. You're getting them at 4.5. I like it at 4.5. So give me those three, and that's minus 120. So give me Providence minus 5.5, minus 125. Miami straight up on the money line at even money, and then NC State minus 4.5. That is minus 120 all on DraftKings. Ari, what have you cooked up on this Wednesday?
Yeah, I'm on Miami as well, as I told you before. Like you said, this is a game where you're probably going to favor the home team, and it's Miami in this spot. Obviously two of really the higher powered offenses in the whole country, really. Both pretty good defensively as well, comparable as well. So, there's not like a huge edge, just straight up talent wise, I don't think, on both teams. But I just like Miami, partially the value here. I mean, Maybe it changes throughout the day, but right now it's at plus 100 on DraftKings. So I like the value Miami at home, depending home court. But, talent-wise, the two teams are both very even. And also, like you said, Clemson is the ranked team. Miami's not, but they're both, 11-1, 10-2, whatever on the season. So they're both, relatively equal talent-wise. So I'm just going to favor the home team here. And then I'm going to the UCLA-Stanford under. UCLA's offense is really, really bad. Stanford's coming off upset over Arizona, where they shot 16-25 from three. And, that was partially Arizona's perimeter defense. They had a lot of open looks. Stanford did. I'm just looking for that regression here from Stanford, who, they scored 100 points. Their offense, I don't think it's like that, really. So I'm just looking for that regression for Stanford's offense. And UCLA is still good defensively. They're not good offensively, so I'm just looking for that under here in the UCLA-Stanford game. And then Raptors money line in Memphis, second game since the trade with Quickly and Barrett. They beat Cleveland in their first game with them. And, I just kind of like the matchup here for Toronto. Jaw's going to get his, obviously. It's a back-to-back for Memphis, but I think everyone's going to be playing for Memphis. They beat San Antonio yesterday in a pretty ugly, low-scoring game. I just like the way Toronto matches up. I like their bench better. You'll probably have Siakam on Jaren Jackson, I would assume. I think that, between the new additions of Quickly and Barrett, Barnes, Polo, Siakam, I like the bench better with Schroeder and Gary Trent off the bench for Toronto. And it's basically a 1-point spread, even money, basically. So I like Toronto here to get their second straight win, with their new squad since the trade.
Yeah, I like that as well, Ari. I mean, you already talked about Miami money line. I already talked about it as well. Just liking the home team here in this spot. And UCLA and Stanford under 137.5. I was laughing because I saw it and I was like, yeah, both of these teams. I mean, you look at UCLA, just talk about falling off a cliff after their Final Four runs, or just all the talent leaving for the draft. And, this young team, is still figuring themselves out, but obviously horrible offensively. And then, Stanford coming off that huge upset win at home against Arizona, on the road, not the greatest offense. And, I kind of agree with you there, just fading both offenses in the spot, taking that under. And then the Raptors in the money line here, you mentioned, the better matchup for the Raptors on the road against Memphis. You mentioned John Morant is going to get his, and then, Pascal Siakam on Triple J, it's going to be a good matchup inside. And then, the two guards that obviously came in that big trade with OG Anunoby quickly, and Barrett playing, getting some good minutes, now kind of fitting into that role, in Toronto. So those are pretty good plays. Obviously, I like the two college basketball plays as well, and then obviously wrapping up with the NBA. Those are always best bets for today. Going back to mine, strictly in college basketball, Providence -5.5. I have Miami trade up on the money line, and then NC State taking a -4.5. Those are my best bets, Ari's best bets as well. You can find all of these plays posted below on our Twitter at AKP Sports Talk. That is where our full cards will be posted every day. But that's going to do it for this episode. I was about to say, do we have? I don't think we have a Thursday night game. So thank gosh, no Thursday night game. Finally, no more.
Last week of the regular season, crazy.
That's right. And we're already at the last week of the regular season. Obviously, the first two games do not come until Saturday with the doubleheader between the Steelers and Ravens and the Texans and Colts, and then obviously Sunday slate. So that's going to be coming up this weekend, and then obviously we're still going to be continuing with college basketball, NBA, as we get closer to the weekend. But that's going to do it for this episode of AKP Sports Talk. That is Ari. I'm Korea. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will see you guys tomorrow.